for another lesson this week. Marty, thank you for having me. Today, we are going to talk about why jazz chords matter. Why do jazz chords matter? All those like crazy numbers and letters and symbols you see and weird shapes that you see when people are doing all of these weird things. Why do they matter? And why should we use them? I started playing guitar when I was 8 years old. And when I was 13, I started working with a guy by the name of Randy Bachman. He is from like BTO, The Guess Who, like a bunch of classic rock bands. I would sit in the studio and watch Randy play all of these jazz chords up and down the neck when I was 13 years old. And I would just sit there and be like, Randy, what are those? Those are so cool. He learned how to play guitar from a guy by the name of Lenny Breau. And Lenny Breau was this incredible jazz guitarist. So that whole long story just to tell you that jazz chords can be so cool and so important when you're writing and playing any kind of music. Even in rock music, Randy uses so many jazz chords in his song that really just add another dimension to your playing. So it's something that you can throw into your toolbox and use to pick out every once in a while when you don't always just have to be playing standard power chords. You can like throw in a little something something. It's just like adding things to your spice cabinet. Let's go over just the overarching jazz chords that are pretty well received. We'll first look at a major 7 chord. So the major 7 chord, you're basically taking, you're playing the 7th note. You're taking the 7th note of the scale and you're playing it. And you're adding it to your chord. It sounds very warm, it sounds very beautiful, just like a standard A chord, but you major 7 it and it sounds all of a sudden just like a bright sunshiny day. I also love playing major 7s up the neck. They just sound so warm. It's a beautiful tool to use in a lot of major songs, especially on your tonic note. Adding a major 7 is just a beautiful thing to do. Okay, now in the same path, a minor chord. Let's go with A minor. If we play the 7th note, so if we add the flat 7 in an A minor chord, it would give you an A minor 7. So it would be the difference between an A minor and an A minor 7. It just gives it that extra little something. And I play with minor 7s all the time. I like adding different flavors to chords. I just think that the voicings, it gives you a whole new fresh voicing when you're playing with other players that sounds really cool. Regular A minor, A minor 7, or even your E minor. You just take off your 2nd finger here and play an open D string, and that's your E minor 7. Let's add one more layer. Now, instead of the flat 7 in a minor chord, you could also add the 9, which is technically the 2nd degree of your tonal scale. So an E minor 9, so this is a standard E minor, taking off your 2nd finger, playing the open D string would be an E minor 7. Now adding the F sharp here is the 9th note, or the 2nd degree of an E scale, and it gives you an E minor 9 chord, which is so cool. How cool is that? So you have your E minor, you have your E minor 7, and you have your E minor 9. It's pretty cool. Just as you have your A minor, you have your A minor 7, and you have your A minor 9. So you're just taking your root note in the middle of your chord. So this is the A note in your A scale. And you either take it down a full step to the flat 7, or you take it up a full step to the 2, or the 2 and the 9 are the same thing. Okay, so that's minor sevens, major sevens. Let's talk a little bit about diminished chords. Diminished chords are those chords that sound very dissonant in your playing. They can be used a lot in jazz music, for sure, like transitional chords between different sections. But I love diminished chords, especially, you hear them a lot in Christmas music, actually, like during the holidays. But they can just add like a really cool flavor to something. So a diminished chord would have like your 1, your flat 3, your flat 5, and your flat 7. And then if you have a diminished 7th chord, you would double flat the 7. So it would be your 1, your flat 3, the flat 5, and then a double flat 7, which is the same as your 6. But let's say we were going to play a C diminished chord. It would look like this. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool, pretty cool. This is based on your A string. You can also play the same diminished shape up here. So this is your C note on your D string. And then with the 3 notes on your G, B, and E string, you can play a diminished chord up here. So with a diminished 7th chord, all you're doing is you're taking that 1, your flat 3, your flat 5, and your flat 7, and you're double flatting this flat 7. A diminished 7th chord could look like this. Or a diminished 7th chord could look like let's say if that's F sharp, it could look like this. Also this shape, so you have your F sharp, now the cool thing about diminished 7th chords is they repeat every 3 frets. So let's take a look at this here. If we were to play, this is an F diminished chord. You have your F, you have your B, you have your D, and you have your G sharp. That's your 1, your flat 3, your flat 5, and a double flat 7. Now if we go up 3 frets, so we go up 1, 2, 3, yes. You would have the same 4 notes, they just would be in a different order. So it's basically the same F diminished 7th chord, but they're just flipped. So you still have an F, a B, a D, and a G sharp, but now this is your F, this is your B, this is your D, and this is your G sharp. Compared to down here, it's... But it's so cool to play diminished 7th chords when you can be... So that's all diminished 7th chords, and it can be a really cool way to be like... So it's a little trick with diminished 7 chords that I love incorporating into music, that you can move them up and down the neck and you're pretty much playing the same chord, but it's just inverted. It's like on a piano, like playing the same chord, but just a different way. I would like to play a little chord progression that you can hear all of these things kind of blending into one. I'm gonna use major 7s, I'm gonna use dominant 7s. I guess a dominant 7 would be... It's just adding the flat 7 in a chord. So if this is your E major, adding the 7, and then your E7 or your E dominant 7 would be adding the flat 7. Another jazz chord shape I love is dominant 9 chords, which means you basically add the 9 and you add the flat 7. So when you see people playing this shape, like this is a D dominant 9 chord, because it has your D, it has your flat 7, and it has the 9 or the 2 in the chord. So I'm about to play a chord progression that incorporates your major 7s, your dominant 7s, your minor 7s. We'll add a diminished 7 in there. Okay, so let's do this. So we're gonna start with a G major 7. We're gonna go to an E dominant 7. We're gonna go an A minor 7. Actually, that has the 9 in it too. Then a D dominant 9. So we could just repeat that. Now let's get funky. Let's go to a C diminished 7. Which is the same thing, because this is the same. We'll go to an E minor 7. Okay, so that was playing with all of them in one key, but you can see how just even adding a little flavor of a note here and there to a chord makes a whole world of a difference. So the coolest thing is you can have a crazy chord progression where you incorporate all of those things in one song, or you really could just add one to your chord progression that you're playing. I mean, you could just take your A chord, and instead of playing a standard A, you could just play an A major 7, just changing one note in one chord. I do that a lot. I do that a lot sometimes when I'm playing a song in the key of A. Sometimes when I come back to home base, I call that coming back to the tonic note, your A. Sometimes I'll just add a major 7 note. And sometimes even just for a little bit, you don't always need to play the A major 7 whenever you get to it, but sometimes maybe at the end of a chorus or in an interlude, it's a nice flavor to add, and really you're only adding one note, so. So try it out. Try just changing one note in one chord progression, and see what kind of flavor it can bring. I know I play a lot of minor 7s. I love adding the 7th tone, you know, and it's as simple as in this A minor chord shape, taking off this 3rd finger. Or in your E minor chord shape, taking off this finger. It just adds such a cool flavor, and being able to increase your voicings of your chords will just really expand your songs. So try it out. I challenge you. Try changing a couple notes in some of your chords. Add a major 7, add a minor 7, and see what it does to your song. Guys, I'm Lindsay L. This is a little bit of a deep dive into why you would ever want to use jazz chords. Marty, thank you so much for having me. Make sure to subscribe to Marty Music, like this video, and go subscribe to my own channel too. My link is below. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.